Welcome to the AI Hub, a podcast for AI-driven side hustles designed for IT professionals like you.
From cutting-edge AI tools to practical, no-nonsense tips, each episode brings you closer to turning tech into income.
Tune in to discover smart and sustainable ways to boost your career and income with AI.
Hey everyone, welcome back to AI Hub. I'm Larry, and with me as always is the amazing Amanda. You ready to dive into some seriously cool AI news?
You bet. Always ready to geek out about the latest AI breakthroughs.
Well, today's deep dive is all about OpenAI's brand new reasoning model, O3mini. It officially launched on January 31st, 2025. And it's already creating a buzz in the AI world.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. OpenAI is really hyping it up as both super powerful and affordable. That's a pretty enticing combination.
So let's unpack that a bit. What exactly makes this O3mini stand out from the crowd? What's all the fuss about?
Well, the big difference is in the name reasoning model. Unlike a lot of language models out there that basically just predict the next word in a sentence, O3mini has this built-in fact-checking mechanism.
Oh, interesting. You mean it double-checks its work?
Exactly. It's kind of like having a tiny researcher inside scrutinizing everything before it gives you an answer.
So it's not just spitting out whatever comes to mind first.
Nope. It actually takes a moment to think things through, which is why OpenAI is saying it's way more reliable than other models, especially for anything that requires precision, like science or math.
Makes sense. Sounds like they're targeting a pretty specific audience with this one. People who need those guaranteed accurate answers, even if it takes a tiny bit longer.
Exactly. It's all about that balance between speed and accuracy.
Okay, but how much slower are we talking? I mean, we all know patience isn't exactly humanity's strong suit.
True, there is a bit of a trade-off there. It does take a little longer to get a response since it's doing all that extra verification. But hey, at least we know those answers are going to be solid.
That's true. Speaking of solid answers, how does this new model compare to its predecessor, the O1?
Well, OpenAI is making some bold claims. They're saying that external testers actually preferred O3mini's answers over O1mini's more than half the time.
More than half the time. That's pretty significant. What else are they saying?
Get this. They claim it makes 39% fewer major mistakes on those really tough questions, like way fewer major flubs.
Wow, 39%. That's a huge leap in accuracy.
Yeah.
Are there any specific examples they gave, to really highlight these improvements?
Absolutely. The article mentioned a couple of key tests where O3mini really shines. One is called AM 2024, which tests how well a model understands complex instructions and can actually follow them,
Right. It's like a test of how well it can actually think for itself. What was the other test?
The other one is the SWE Bench Verified test. This one focuses more on programming skills, and apparently O3mini totally aced it.
Okay, so we've got more accuracy, maybe a little less speed, and it's geared towards certain fields. But OpenAI is also pushing the affordability factor. What's the pricing like compared to other models out there? Is it really as budget-friendly as they claim?
Well, they've priced O3mini at 0.55 cents per million cached input tokens and $4.40 per million output tokens.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who don't speak fluent AI, can you break that down for us? What does a million tokens actually translate to in the real world?
Sure. Think of it as roughly 750,000 words.
Got it. So how does that price compare to other reasoning models, like DeepSeek's R1, for example?
So it's definitely cheaper than OpenAI's previous model, the O1mini. We're talking about a 63% price drop. That's a pretty sweet deal.
63%.
Yeah.
But how does it stack up against the competition?
Well, DeepSeek's R1 model is actually priced much lower, 0.14 per million cached input tokens and 2.19 per million output tokens.
Interesting. So it's cheaper than its predecessor, but maybe not the most budget-friendly option overall. I'm sensing a theme here, like it's good, but not quite revolutionary.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be really interesting to see if users are willing to pay a bit more for that added accuracy that O3mini claims to offer.
Good point. Okay, so we've got the price, the accuracy, the speed. But there's more to this model, right? I keep hearing about this new reasoning effort feature. What's that all about?
Oh yeah, that. This is actually a pretty cool new feature for ChatGPT users. Basically, it gives you the ability to choose your desired reasoning effort level.
So how does that work? Like, do I get to choose how hard the AI thinks?
You got it. You can choose between low, medium, or high effort levels. And as you might expect, the higher the effort, the more accurate the results. But it'll take a bit longer to process.
Makes sense. So if I'm in a hurry, I can choose low effort and get a quick answer.
Yeah.
But if I need that super precise answer for something really important, I can crank it up to high and let O3mini really do its thing.
Yeah.
I like that. Flexibility is key.
Exactly. It puts the power in the user's hands. And speaking of cool new features, there's another one that's got me pretty excited. Search integration.
Oh, wow. Now that sounds like it could be a real game changer. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so this is still early days. We're talking prototype stage here, but the idea is that O3mini can now actually use search engines to find the most up-to-date information and even provide links to relevant sources on the web.
Hold on. You mean it's not just limited to the information it already knows? It can actually go out and do research like a human.
Exactly. It's a huge leap forward for ensuring accuracy and keeping things current.
That is incredible. So it's like having a built-in research assistant that can find, summarize, and present the latest information in real time. Talk about a time saver.
Right. It addresses one of the biggest concerns people have had about AI models, the whole stuck in the past problem.
Totally. Okay, this is all sounding incredibly promising, but let's be real for a second. Every new technology has its limitations. What are the caveats here? What are the things we should be cautious about?
Of course, nothing's perfect, right? While O3mini shows big improvements over O1 in a lot of areas, there are some places where the performance advantage isn't quite as dramatic.
Ooh. Could you give us some examples?
Yeah, so for example, on that AIM 2024 test we talked about, O3mini only beats O1 by a tiny bit, even when it's set to high reasoning effort.
Interesting.
And on another test, the GPQA Diamond test, which has those super complex PhD-level science questions, O3mini actually doesn't even manage to beat O1's score.
Interesting. So it's definitely a step in the right direction, but it's not a magic bullet.
Exactly. We still need to be aware of its limitations.
Okay, good point. Now, I also saw that OpenAI mentioned something about O3mini's safety and deliberative alignment. What is that all about?
Yes. Deliberative alignment. That's a really hot topic in AI development these days. Essentially, it refers to making sure AI models are not just smart, but also align with human values and goals.
Okay, so in simple terms, it's about making sure AI is used for good and not for evil.
Pretty much. In the case of O3mini, deliberative alignment means the model actually considers OpenAI's safety policy while it's coming up with responses.
So they're building ethics into the AI's decision-making.
Exactly. It's like trying to ensure the AI is making responsible choices.
That sounds incredibly complex,
Yeah.
but also super important, especially as AI gets more powerful. I mean, the last thing we need is AI running amok, right?
Right. OpenAI claims that O3mini actually does better than their current top model, GPT-4, on some of those really tough safety and jailbreak evaluations.
Wow, interesting. I wonder what those evaluations involve.
Well, it's basically like researchers trying to trick the AI into doing something bad or dangerous, like something it's not supposed to do.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But of course, only time will tell how effective these safety measures really are in the real world, right?
Exactly. It's kind of like a constant game of cat and mouse between the AI developers and people who are trying to, push the boundaries.
So let's bring this all back to our listeners. What does all this mean for the average person? How is something like O3mini going to actually impact our daily lives?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's still early, but the potential impact of this type of technology is massive. It's not just about AI being smarter. It's about making it more reliable, more ethical, and really integrating it into the way we live and work.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I can already see how this type of reasoning model could revolutionize things like education, research, even customer service. Think about students having access to AI tutors that can not only give information, but also help them work through complex problems step by step.
Exactly. Or researchers being able to analyze massive data sets with incredible speed and accuracy. The possibilities are truly mind-boggling.
It really is amazing to think about, but we have to be careful, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Right, we can't get ahead of ourselves. Like we discussed earlier, it's so important to approach this technology with a healthy dose of critical thinking. We can't just blindly trust these models to get everything right.
Absolutely. We need to be aware of their limitations, the potential for bias, and all the ethical considerations that come along with any powerful technology.
Couldn't agree more. AI is a tool, and just like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's up to us as a society to make sure we're using it wisely and ethically.
It's wild, right? Like we're living in the future we used to just imagine.
I know. It's pretty mind-blowing. We were talking about all the cool new features O3mini has, and I wanted to circle back to that search integration for a sec. It seems like it could really be a game changer in terms of how useful and accurate these AI models can be. Absolutely. It's one thing to have access to a ton of data, but it's totally different to be able to actually go out and find the most up-to-date info in response to a question. That's what makes this integration so powerful.
I'm curious, though, how does it actually work? I mean, does it just, pull up a list of links like a regular search engine? Or is it doing something more?
It's definitely smarter than your average Google search. What it does is it analyzes the search results, pulls out the important bits, and then puts it all together into a nice summary that makes sense.
Oh, wow. So it's like having a research assistant who not only finds the info, but also summarizes it for you. That's incredible.
Right. And since it's pulling from the web live, you can be pretty sure the answers are current and, relevant to what you need at that moment.
That makes sense. But it also brings up another question, Trust. How can people be sure that the information O3mini is giving them is actually, accurate and reliable? Especially since there's so much misinformation out there on the web.
Yeah, that's a really valid point. OpenAI hasn't released all the details yet, but they did say that O3mini uses a mix of algorithms and human oversight to, weed out the bad stuff and make sure it's only using trustworthy sources.
So it's not just grabbing stuff randomly from anywhere. There's a system to make sure the information's legit.
Exactly. It's a multi-layered approach to ensure accuracy. But, just like with any source of information, it's always a good idea to use your own judgment and not blindly trust everything you see.
Totally agree. Okay, switching gears a bit. OpenAI also mentioned some pretty impressive safety features in O3mini. They're saying it's more aligned with human values and goals than previous models. How did they manage to do that?
It's this thing called deliberative alignment, which basically means they've trained the AI to actually consider OpenAI safety guidelines when it's, coming up with its responses. It's kind of like a built-in ethical compass.
Whoa, okay. That sounds like a major step forward.
Yeah.
But can you really just, program ethics into a machine?
It's a tough question. What OpenAI is trying to do with deliberative alignment is make sure the AI is acting in a way that's consistent with human values. They're trying to teach it to make good decisions.
So it's not just about preventing harm. It's about encouraging the AI to actually do good. That's a whole other level.
Yeah, it's about moving beyond just avoiding bad outcomes and actually promoting good ones. But of course, this brings up a bunch of other questions, like whose values are we talking about? What makes a decision good?
Those are definitely some big questions that we need to really grapple with as AI keeps getting more advanced. It's clear that AI has the potential to be an amazing force for good, but we need to be really careful about how we develop and use it.
100%. We can't just leave those decisions to the tech companies and hope for the best. We need to have a serious conversation as a society about the ethical side of AI and make sure this technology is used responsibly.
Totally agree. Well said. So with all these advancements and all the things we need to be careful about, where do you see O3mini fitting into the big picture of AI? What kind of impact do you think it'll have on the field as a whole?
I think it's definitely a big milestone. It pushes the limits of what these reasoning models can do and has some really cool new features like that search integration and deliberative alignment. It's still early, but I think it could change how we use AI, open up new possibilities for problem solving and just making our lives better.
I'm with you on that. It's exciting to imagine what's next.
For sure. I can't wait to see what people do with it.
Well, this has been a super insightful deep dive into O3mini. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us.
My pleasure. Always fun to geek out with you.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? About where all this is heading.
It does. It's amazing to see how far we've come in such a short time. And what I find really interesting about O3mini is that it's not just about, making AI smarter. It's about making it more user-friendly, too.
Yeah, that's a good point. It seems like O3mini is bridging the gap between, the hardcore AI experts and us regular folks who just want to use AI to, make our lives easier.
Exactly. I think features like that reasoning effort slider are brilliant. They give users so much control over how the AI works. It's not this scary, mysterious thing anymore.
It feels more like a tool now, right? A partner you can work with.
Yes. And that shift is going to be huge for getting people to actually use AI. When people feel like they understand it and can trust it, they're way more likely to, embrace it.
Speaking of trust, that's such a crucial factor with AI, especially as these models become, even more complex and integrated into our lives. We have to be able to trust that AI is on our side, that it's making decisions that are good for us, and that it's not going to, turn against us or something.
Absolutely. And that's why I think OpenAI's focus on safety and deliberative alignment is so important. They're really thinking about the ethical side of AI, not just the technical stuff.
Yeah, that's really encouraging to see.
Yeah.
It shows that they understand that AI has to be developed responsibly.
It does. We can't just let the tech companies run wild and hope for the best. We have to make sure that AI is serving humanity, not the other way around.
Well said.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one big takeaway you want listeners to remember about O3mini?
I think the biggest thing is that O3mini isn't just another fancy AI gadget. It represents a real step forward, you know? It shows what's possible with reasoning, accuracy, safety, and user control. And it has the potential to change how we interact with technology, solve problems, and even how we understand the world.
I totally agree. It's pretty amazing to think about.
It is.
A huge thanks to Amanda for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the world of O3mini.
It's always a pleasure, Larry.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for tuning in. If you're as excited about the future of AI as we are, don't forget to subscribe to AI Hub for more in-depth discussions, insightful analyses, and all the latest developments in the world of artificial intelligence.
We'll catch you next time.
Stay curious, everyone.
Welcome to the AI Hub, a podcast for AI-driven side hustles designed for IT professionals like you.
From cutting-edge AI tools to practical, no-nonsense tips, each episode brings you closer to turning tech into income.
Tune in to discover smart and sustainable ways to boost your career and income with AI.